Okay, guys, we're going to talk about a lot of things. I actually was able to get some great questions. But first, we're going to do a sing-along because I picked up the guitar and this song just happened. And I'm like, okay, I'm sharing this song. Here it comes. Here it comes. Sing along if you know it. Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once? I'm one of those melodramatic fools, neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it. And you can sing along. I can't hear you, but sometimes I give myself the creeps. Here we go. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. Am I just giving up? I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid? Or am I strong? There it is. Let's just do control. And I better hold. Actually, I forgot the second verse. Second verse, different than the first. I went to a shrink to analyze my dreams. He said it's like a sex that's bringing me down. I went to a whore. He said I was so poor. He said something about this, something is bringing her down. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes I keep my place tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid or am I strong? Let's just do control. And I better hold on. And so on and so forth. And you know, that was a classic song of my youth. That was a classic song of my youth. So yeah, I was like, maybe I'll play guitar today. And then I sat down and literally that song came out. It was actually, sometimes it's a surprise. Sometimes it's just a surprise what the brain is going to say. You know what you're going to do? You're going to go back to like the early 90s. I think it was, when was that? It was like early 90s that song came out. It kind of ages me a little bit. Happy Friday, guys. It was a very special Friday. Actually, we got 20,000 subscribers on the channel. If you're new here, welcome. We've got a really awesome tribe and a really great Friday crew. We've been talking a lot about basically overcoming anxiety, dealing with stress, breath work, Wim Hof method, cold exposure, biohacking of all kinds. So we've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Today, I was supposed to be interviewing and doing a live session with Estrella, and she's just an awesome Breathworker, Wim Hof method instructor. Check her out on Instagram. The girl has really one of the most fun to watch Instagrams because she's really into doing. I didn't realize the UK had so many waterfalls. And if you're from the UK, guys, why don't you guys tell us about this stuff? Yeah, she's always in a waterfall. They're all these beautiful waterfalls. And she's really into, doing a cold dip every day. She's got a YouTube channel. She's just starting off. And if you want to check her out, but she will be back. So what happened was last minute, she's like, hey, I'm sorry. I can't make it today. And I'm like, okay, but you got to come back. You got to come on the channel. She's got a really good story, a really good background story on how she came to, especially Wim Hof method. And I worked with her in Poland last year in 2019 when we did some expeditions out there with Wim Hof. And so just really great story. Also, she does van life. So it's going to happen. So it's going to happen on the 19th. So it's not this coming Friday, not 1 week from today. It's 2 weeks from today. And so it's going to happen. It's just, it's going to happen later on next week. Actually, you know what? Before I even take this sip of beverage, I'm going to give you the date. I'm interviewing, if you're into exploring the possibilities of breath work, especially with regards to DMT. Next week, I'm doing an interview on Tuesday the 9th of February with Miles Lucas. He's been on my channel before. I've had him. He was either the first or second interview on my podcast, which I've got to start making more podcasts. I actually am getting emails now saying, "Hey man, I really like your podcast." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I haven't uploaded a podcast in a long time, so I've got to get some podcasts up there." But Miles Lucas, he was actually in the documentary called DMT Quest. He's going to be coming on the channel on Tuesday. We're going to do a live. So if you want to tune in, that's going to be 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and it's 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. He's in California, so he said he's best in the morning. So let's try it in the morning. So I'm like, fine, we'll do it in the morning. So it's Tuesday, February 9th at 11 Eastern Standard Time, 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking about his experience with. They actually did brain scans on him when he was doing Wim Hof method breath work, and it was all trying to focus on what is really going on, and that's, I think, one of the things that I've just gotta, I've got to say that it's just what is going on, right? And I think that is probably the coolest. It's if I actually knew everything that was going on in just life and just in reality and in general, it probably would be quite boring. And I'd be kind of just like, well, geez, but the fact that there's so much mystery in life, the fact that there's so much that we don't know, I think is such a cool thing. And we all get to kind of explore it together. So P. Haggerty is in Florida. Hey, thanks so much for being here, P. Haggerty. I forget who it was that actually had P. Haggerty, you had the question about being in Florida. I'm going to read your question here in just a little bit once we get started. But anyway, we've got a lot of cool guests that are going to be on the channel. And then so there's been also rumors. So there's been some rumors that I have yet to completely validate about someone breaking the world record for the longest ice bath again. So if you're a fan of the channel, you probably, and I actually put this on the podcast as well. I had Joseph Kobler on, and it was, I don't know if you guys saw that. I actually interviewed him on a Thursday, and then my plan was to just upload the video and the podcast the following Tuesday, so I could do a little editing and just make sure everything was everything actually came through. Over the weekend, there's a guy in France who broke the world record and beat Joseph's record, and I'm like, oh wow, that was fast. And then just yesterday, I saw a report, and I'm not completely sure it's been verified, that someone broke the world record again and set the new world record for longest ice submersion at 2 hours, 40 minutes. So I have yet to validate this. I need to do a little bit more research on it, but I did see video of them taking him out. And I read an article about it. It was a veteran, and he was trying to raise awareness for, I forget exactly what he was trying to do it for. I'll find more out, and I'll share it with you guys. I'll try to get him on. However, man, he was in bad shape when they were getting him out. It looked like, and of course, I mean, 2 hours, 40 minutes in ice, you're going to be feeling it. But it's a stark contrast from, Joseph Kobler. I forget what his time was. It was over 2 hours, and he got out and ate an ice cream cone. And then now the French guy, I can't actually interview him because he doesn't want to do interviews other than in French. But I have a friend who is French, and I'm going to have him on the channel sometime soon. I actually met him whenever he was struggling with, he had a lot of disorders, a lot of health issues. And he reached out to me. He's like, hey, I see that you're doing a Wim Hof method workshop. Do you think this would help me? And I was like, well, hey man, it's not going to hurt you. You might as well try it. And, and so he tried it, and his name is Sebastian Szappa. And if you can find, I forget what the name of his channel is. I'm going to have him on here as well. So I've got a lot of really awesome guests coming on. A lot of you guys were really impressed with James Stewart from Chicago. He's going to be on again soon. Actually, he and I will be in Wisconsin, and I wanted to give you guys updates on this. So we're going to be at Sand Valley Golf Resort. Now it's crazy because obviously there's no golfing happening in March, or there was no golfing happening in January when we were there. And it's really kind of cool. So we're doing this in conjunction with Sand Valley Resort. And it is a beautiful, I'm talking 5-star resort. The food is amazing. Just everything is amazing. The room is amazing. It's just awesome. And basically it's going to be let's see, let me just 100%. I'm just going to make sure so I have a habit of being dumb sometimes. So, okay. It is going to be March 26th through March 28th. So you get there, we all meet, we all get together on Friday night. We kind of set some intentions. We start getting to know each other. You'll be there with we're limiting this class. We're only allowing 25 people. And it's, you don't want just a gobs and gobs and gobs of people at some of these events. You want it kind of intimate, and it's pretty much just us there. Like, we've pretty much got the whole resort to ourselves. There is a frozen over lake that we get into. There's snow on the ground right now up there, and it is just a winter wonderland. So we had an amazing time in January. We're going to go back in the late March. And then the cool thing is, so it's okay. So you get there Friday night, you meet everybody, we have some hors d'oeuvres, and just it's really, we're talking 5-star resort. Spend the night, start your day in the morning with some yoga, some breath work, some Wim Hof method workshop, learning the Wim Hof method. Even if a lot of people came to the last one and they did not know Wim Hof method at all. A lot of the other people had been practicing for years. Actually, I had a few people there that had been to multiple workshops that I had done over the past few years. And they're like, yeah, I just wanted to do a weekend immersion because, there is a Wim Hof method workshop is fantastic, right? It's a full day event. You meet people, you have a lot of fun, you'll learn a lot. And then on top of that, okay, so then I want to go on a deep dive. Awesome. Well, it's pretty deep. So you're spending Friday night and Saturday night, and then we get done Sunday. Usually, I think we're planning on being done sometime Sunday afternoon. And I'm just saying, plan on lots of cold exposure, plan on lots of breath work, some deep breath work, lots of other just fun stuff. They've got, there's a nature hike, and it's it's set in a place where the environment is very specific. Like there's this really cool guide that takes us on a tour of kind of the area. And some people chose to go in shorts on the hike. Some people did not. It's not like a, big deal, but yeah, it's just a fantastic thing. And so I'm going to have James, he and I, we like to work together. Jesse and James. Yes. The Jesse James combination is, we're riding again, and we're going to be in Wisconsin, March 26th through 28th. Also, I do have some workshops on the schedule now. So if you go to jessecoomer.com, you can sign up for, I'm coming to Chicago. When am I coming to Chicago? Chicago in May. So May 22nd and May 23rd. I've got 2 workshops on the books. And then I'm going to North Carolina in April. The North Carolina one is really cool. If you can go to that one. Actually, that's where I met Alan Spring, who is one of the rock stars, fans of this channel. And Alan, if you're watching, I love you, brother. I didn't know, I knew that he was going to be there. I was like, I've seen his name make a lot of really nice comments. It's time to meet this guy, and he's just a really crazy, awesome dude. Anyway, it's this in North Carolina. This is set in the Appalachian Mountains, and my brother in ice and breath, Rob Linfesti, he is fantastic. I forced him to have a YouTube channel too. I was like, Rob, the world needs you. The world needs what you offer. Get on YouTube now and share your stuff. He is into acro yoga. He is a survival guide. He's a chocolatier. So he makes chocolate that is like this craft chocolate. And he goes and he infuses the chocolate. So he only buys chocolate from specific places where he knows for sure there's no, I guess, and this is something I found out from him. The cacao industry is full of like slavery and just awful conditions. And, you don't think about that when you're eating chocolate or you see, the flavored chocolate. But he says, so much of the cacao that goes into like Nestle and all these other companies is they've got slave labor or labor that's like, it's a few steps up from slavery, but it's just awful conditions. And then they use, a lot of times rotten cacao. And so he goes through specific farmers of cacao and you can taste the difference. And so when I was there last year, actually it was in February, right before all the virus and everything hit, and I had to cancel the rest of the year and all that. It was awful. But at that time I was like, okay. And these workshops, we're doing a fundamentals workshop and an advanced workshop. We've got a natural creek it's a nice big creek that we can do ice bathing in. And in April, believe me, it's still very cold. We're going to do breath work outside with the mountains and nature, just like all around us. And then it's on top, whenever we do like the classroom stuff, it's on top of a chocolate factory. So his chocolate factory is the downstairs. And then the upstairs is like the activities room. And I got to say, Alan, if you're watching, thank you, because last time was the very first time we ever used the activities room, which was the upstairs. And Alan helped me, and some of the guys, we all helped do the flooring. So the flooring was literally put down there on the inaugural use of that room, which was for Wim Hof method training. So it was kind of a special thing. But basically, so last time we're going to do like a cacao ceremony that night and hiking, and it's just awesome stuff. So anyway, so that is in April. That is April 17th is going to be the fundamentals workshop. And the 18th is going to be the advanced workshop. What we do though, we recommend, and there's a discount. First of all, if you have one of my books, you get $25 or either $25 or a certain percentage off. I forget exactly what the discount is, but basically it's a really good discount. And then in addition to that, when you buy a ticket for the fundamentals workshop or the advanced workshop, you get another coupon code, which will give you $25 off the other ticket. So I really want to encourage people to make it into a weekend thing. You can even camp on his property. Like he's got what are they called? They're yurts. So he's got a yurt. He's got places where if you want to pitch a tent, you can. So it's this beautiful place. It's turning into this Garden of Eden because he's got this beautiful garden there. All the stuff that he puts in his chocolate so he infuses natural herbs that he harvests from the Appalachian Mountains in his chocolate. So last time, and I got to say, okay, so let's see, here's my chair. So I really like chocolate, but I try not to eat a lot of sugar. And so when I was there though, I was like, okay, I gave him, I don't remember how much money, but it was like a lot of people paid in cash for certain things. I forget why I had so much cash on me. I was like, here, just take all the cash, just exchange this for chocolate, sir. And like, he's got all these different flavors and different styles and infusions. One of them has CBD. The other one has this herb and that herb. And one of them is sweetened with honey. And one of them sweetened with cane sugar. Or one of them has no sweetener at all. I ate so much chocolate that weekend. And then I went home with just like, it was like the back of my car full of chocolate. And then all the lockdowns hit where I live. And here I was at home. I was working on my book and I had all this chocolate. And I got to say, it was pretty nice. It wasn't a bad thing to have whenever you're in lockdown. So, hey, anyway, I was kind of going on and on. Let's see here. Hey, V Thomas is here. How's it going, my friend? Let's see. Just got out of a cold shower. Hey, yeah, all right. You know, today I that's all I'm doing today. Like, I took a 5-minute cold shower. And some people might say, "Hey, Jesse, isn't that that's not really much of a thing for a guy like you?" Yeah, you know what? That's all I wanted today, and that's all I had to have. And I'm like, okay, great. Rusty, I'm glad you're here. Everybody, if you're into Rusty does a lot of cool games on his channel, so check him out. So let's see here. Where's everybody from? P. Haggerty. Oh, you know what? I'm going to answer your question here in just a second, P. Haggerty. So stay with me for just a minute. We got West Coast Florida, so it's nice and sunny down there for you. Let's see. And Andre Faye, great singing, Jesse. Oh, thanks, man. And thanks. Congrats on the 20,000 subs. I appreciate it, my friend. I've got a question about hurting fingers during cold exposure, mostly cold walks. Is it dangerous to just ignore the pain? -10 degrees Celsius. Let's see. Let's see here. I'm going to make sure there's one person. I'm not going to say his name. He actually recently joined the Patreon club, and he always teases me because I have a hard time with the conversion. I'm going to get back to that question, Andre. First, I do want to answer P. Haggerty's question because because I told him I would. So let's get to that question. I haven't read the full question. I just saw that there was a question from a guy from Florida. So, okay, P. Haggerty says, "Hey, Jesse, thanks for asking. I'm back in Florida again, just moved from Chirac, aka Chicago, after they closed the lodge. I started my cold showers. I love cold showers there. I never measured the temperature from the faucet. However, surface of skin got slightly numb after rotating body parts in flow of water after 3 minutes. He said after 3 minutes is when I relaxed from the shock. So it took him about 3 minutes to kind of calm down. Let's see here. He said, I loved it. He said, here in the Tampa area, the shower water is 64 degrees. So for those of you guys, let's see, that would be, what is that? That's about 16 degrees Celsius. 16 degrees Celsius, somewhere around there. So we're not talking very cold. I mean, it's not hot water, right? It's not a hot shower. But as far as like a difference between Chicago, and let me tell you, P. Haggerty, whenever I was in Chicago, the last time I was in Chicago, I don't remember. It was like January, or it was December of 2019. That's when it was. December 2019. My wife had an ultra marathon in December. It was cold. I remember I took a 10-minute cold shower, and I really had to maintain my focus because I was like, man, this is super, super cold. So up in Chicago, you guys have really crazy cold showers. He says he goes down to the pool. It says 62 degrees. So at least a little cooler there. He says, I go to the pool for 10 minutes and have slight shiver during that time. Well, okay, that's to be expected, especially it depends on how long you've been cold training. But he says, do you think there is a benefit at these temperatures? Yes, there is a benefit. I'll just tell you that, and I'll explain why. Also changed my routine the other day to 10 minutes in the pool, then swim / tread water for 5. I do believe when moving, it feels colder. Yeah, you're going to have that sensation. So I decided to move to maybe have more vasoconstriction. Is this counterproductive in my approach? Thanks for that question, my friend. Well, okay. So first of all, it's beneficial to get into anything that challenges the homeostatic state of your body. So whether it's cold or heat, there are benefits to challenging your body's homeostasis. And so in this case, you're getting into something that is colder. And literally, if you stayed in there long enough, it's possible to, it's still challenging your homeostasis. I mean, it over time, you can get a good cold exposure. It's just that with that kind of intensity, it's a kind of a low intensity cold exposure. Yeah, you're going to want to spend a little bit longer in there. I've got a training guide. I talk about it all the time on this channel, and I update it. I'm going to make a third update for those of you who've already bought a Practical Guide to Cold Training. You've got the second edition now. Some of you guys were the OGs who bought the first edition, and you all got free updates to the second edition. You're also going to get an update to the third edition. Now, it's not going to come out probably until September of this year. So I've got a lot of time because I'm crazy busy right now. I'm going to do another update to it. As I learn things, as I get more questions and learn more about what people want and are wondering about, and as I start to wonder about things and learn things, then I'm like, you know what? I need to add a chapter on that in the cold training book. Anyway, I would check it out if you haven't already done so, P. Haggerty. Because really, I talk about it a lot in the book, but really you're talking about the difference between intensity and duration. So like today I went to the gym and I did my workout, and today I did some weight training, and I did high reps, low weight, right? And in that way, it's very similar to what you've got. You've got a low weight, right? You've got a low intensity. And so in order to really get the benefits, you're just going to need to spend a little bit more time. Now, that's something that you need to calibrate. And right now is probably the coolest time of your year down in Florida. And so you're going to need to kind of calibrate that. Eventually, you may, I don't know what your living situation is, but you may want to try adding ice to your bath. Or if you have space for a trough, maybe invest in a trough and add some ice to that. You can use that year round. It just gets kind of expensive. So what you might want to do, what I recommend is, just once a week, challenge yourself to something that's a little extra cold. And so you can get that water down. You can bring that water down really cold with enough ice. I mean, I've added so much ice to an ice bath before that, it's like you're just kind of slipping into an ice dish, and you can get it really cold. So feel free to kind of check, kind of continue exploring. That's my best advice. Continue to kind of explore that. Let's see here. BRD, woot woot, Sand Valley Golf Resort. Yes, indeed, man. I hope you make it. Dar Hilton, good evening. Good evening. It's afternoon here in the Midwest. Dar, where are you from, my friend? Let's see here. Yeah, the DMT stuff is interesting, Lambert. I'm looking forward to talking to my friend Miles about his experience. Let's see here. I had a question a second ago, and sometimes people, they're like, "Are you really an English professor? Like you have no ability to stay focused." And I would challenge you to find an English professor who can stay focused. I would challenge you to find a professor. First of all, I would challenge you to find a professor who is good at being a professor, who can stay focused throughout an entire class. And the reason I say that is if all you do is talk about the content and you don't ever relate it or just kind of change subjects or have a little conversation, man, it can get really, it's like, man, I don't know. I need a little bit of a cognitive break. I've had professors though, I'm like, dude, I wish you would just shut up so that we can actually do the class. So I don't want to be like that, but let's see. All right, let's see here. So I love Rusty's comment. When they finally take Walt Disney out of cryostasis, he'll have the unbeatable record. Yeah, for cold exposure, I guess you're right. Let's see here. Let's see. We got Nicholas from Brazil. Awesome, my friend. Awesome. Let's see. In Brazil, you guys are having your winter or your summer now. let's see. Anything close to Brooklyn, MT says. Actually, I don't get out to New York State or the East Coast very much. You may want to look up my friend Brad Carson. Brad Carson is out I think he lives in Maryland. I only see him whenever we're at the same event. So I never see him at the place where he lives. He never sees me here. We only see each other in Poland or, in California or whatever. So I always forget where he's from. I think it's Maryland or someplace in New England. It's someplace in New England. So yeah, check out Brad Carson. There's a few other people on the East Coast as well. But I don't think they're up as far north as you are. So maybe check him out. Let's see here. It's going to be down to -7 for Astro Sheepy. Oh man, that's going to be great. That's going to be great. Yeah, there's a huge problem, P. Haggerty, with diamond slaves. There's a huge problem with slavery in general in the world. And that's something that sadly enough, it's very difficult to know where all of the things that you buy, where every part comes from, right? It might be made in one country, it might be made in one place, but where does this mineral come from? Where does this ingredient come from? I'm hoping that with time, I'm hoping that people are starting to wake up to this, because it really bothers me. And the fact that the cadmium in many of our lithium ion batteries, or I don't know exactly how that all works, but I know that there's some really terrible practices that sadly enough, we probably all contribute to in some way or another, just living modern lives. So I try as much as I can, if I have something, to take very good care of it, so that if nothing else, I don't have to buy another one and contribute to any possible trade like that any more than I've already done. And I do try, if I can, to make sure that these things that I buy or that I ingest or whatever are made with fair trade, or I try to research these companies. My wife is really, really good at this. My wife is really great at research. And I'm thinking about her birthday's coming up, Valentine's Day coming up. I want her to come on this channel sometime, and maybe we talk a little bit about, maybe couples advice. I want her to come on the channel sometime. She's kind of shy to come on the channel. I'm always the guy that's like, hey, and then she's she kind of stays behind a little bit more, and that's good. I think that's probably a good thing, or else we would just be stepping on each other's toes all the time. I remember one time, whenever we met, there's a philosopher that she really, really likes, and I bought her tickets so we could go see this philosopher speak, and then I paid a little extra so we could meet this person. And I was like, I'm the guy who walks up first, and I shake the hand first, and then I introduce my wife. Not this time. I said, I'm going to let her go first, and just completely let this be her experience. And she's like, afterwards, she was like, I wish you would have done your usual thing, Jesse. It was just, she likes that, and so it works for our relationship. But anyway, she's a really good researcher. She's fantastic at researching things. And anyway. Oh, but I digress. Maybe I kind of like her. Let's see here. Yeah, P. Haggerty, you're absolutely correct. How much is 60 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius? Ricardo asks. So let's see here. I'm going to do this. So 60 degrees in Celsius would be, let's see, 20. Okay, that would be, don't tell me, it's 14. It's 14 degrees Celsius. And I'm going to check my work. Here we go. Checking my work. 60 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius. Okay, it's 15 degrees. I was close. I feel like I'm going to call that a win. I'm going to call. Let's see here. V Thomas says, oh, wait a minute. What temperature? Okay, Vic. Okay, I skipped a little bit too much. Hey, Andrew's here. Andrew. Hi, Jesse. I have the second edition update of October of last year. Is that the latest? Yeah, that is. Second edition of the cold training book is the latest edition. And the next edition, I already know a few things that I'm going to be adding to it. Some of it is going to be about a little bit more about the like frostbite. So some of the kind of like how to know if you've got these side effects of training too hard in the snow and ice. And some of it comes from the fact that I have experienced some of those things myself. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit more on kind of how I've handled it. But I didn't want to put it in the second edition just yet. I wanted to do a little bit more research on it. No, I've not had frostbite, but I have had, I always pronounce it wrong. I'm not even going to say it. It's basically, I've had some issues on my feet because I train my feet really hard. I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of my most recent videos. I've gotten to the point now where it takes a long time for me to need to stop walking in the snow. And I'm not saying I am the great master at it, but I'm just saying that I enjoy being barefoot so much, and I go barefoot as often as I can, that I've really developed over the years a really strong resilience to cold with my feet. My hands are still my weakness because I don't do quite as much. Like, whenever I go outside, my feet are what I'm constantly gripping the ground with my feet. There's uneven surfaces and things like that. And when I'm walking, my hands are just kind of my hands, right? And so I'm not doing as much with my hands. And maybe I'll start chopping wood in the cold. That's one of the things, most of the comments that I get when it comes to guys that are like, dude, I'll tell you how I cold proof my hands. It's called work, right? And it's normally people, actually the vast majority of people, it was from chopping wood outside whenever it was super cold outside. Mechanics often talk to me about how their hands really get adapted to the cold as well. And hey, if you guys have experience with that, share it as well. I know I'm behind with the comments. If you're just dying to get something answered, we've got the super chats up and running. Oh, hey, speaking of that, a friend of mine has a son who has cystic fibrosis. And if you know anything about cystic fibrosis, I am not an expert on cystic fibrosis, other than I know that cystic fibrosis is, as of now, incurable, and that it's something that is underfunded. There's no federal funding in the United States for research for any kind of treatment, or not really any research at all for cystic fibrosis. And what it does, it crystallizes your lungs, and you can't breathe anymore. And he was doing a fundraiser for his son, and I donated, and I'm like, why not do a fundraiser with Breathwork? I mean, I feel like this goes hand in hand. Breathe. So these people who are suffering from cystic fibrosis can continue to breathe. And so I'm going to announce it. This idea just hatched yesterday when I was talking. He's a great guy, and I've known him for a while, and I've known his kid has had cystic fibrosis for a while. I don't know why. I'm almost embarrassed that I haven't done a benefit. But what I'm going to do is a guided breathwork session, and then I'll just have the link. You don't even have to give to me, but I'll have the link to the cystic fibrosis fund of his choice. And so, anything we can do to help those people. So that's something that's coming up. So anyway, here we go. Going down. Let's see here. So M. Peter says phones totally overrated. Okay, well it's it's true. I Can't argue with that logic. Until now, I've mostly had secondhand phones from my family. It works for me. Now, I will say that if I can get a hand-me-down, if I can get something that's been used and then reuse it, man, yeah, I'm going to do that. Lewis Line says, I've been watching Emma Estrella's vids, and she seems pretty rock solid and so chilled in the cold. How long does that take? Well, that's why I was going to have her on today. And she bailed on me, and I'm going to guilt trip her because she's cool enough so that she can handle me guilt tripping her and having fun with her. So help me guilt trip her whenever she's on February 19th. We're just all going to shame her for bailing on me. Now, she had something come up, and it happens, right? I mean, it's going to happen. She's in the UK. So right now it's nighttime there. It's getting close to 9 o'clock. So sometimes it's really hard whenever I'm doing, especially something that's live, doing like a Zoom where I record it and then I upload it. That's one thing. We can kind of mess with that. But whenever it's live, and I like these live sessions so that you guys can ask questions. And she's got such cool, she's got such a cool story. She does van life. So she lives in a van. And so that, to me, I'm going to ask her all kinds of questions on that, because I'm not sure how that, I don't think I could live that way, but part of me thinks that it would be really cool too. Like I love the idea of the freedom of, especially the freedom of bills, and the freedom to kind of walk, to be kind of wherever. But then again, I guess, do you park someplace? And of course, the first thing whenever she said to me that she lives in a van, what did I think of? Can I tell you what, this audience is a fan of comedy. What was the phrase? Can anybody guess? Whenever I found out she lived in a van. Nobody? Down by the river, right? I live in a van down by the river. Okay, maybe you don't. Okay, it's the old fantastic. I should have said something like that. Oh, that would have been a sweet pun. I'm going to remember that one, Peter. That's good. Yeah, so I was like, do you live down by the river? And I was hoping, you remember the SNL, Chris Farley? You remember that, anybody? So anyway, let's see here. So let's see here. I'm gonna Jesse the Jimbo English. Hey, let's see. Haggerty. All right. I saw some other questions. I'm gonna scroll back up here. Maybe not. Got some, some conversations. Cool. So anyway, she's going to be coming on the 19th. So we're going to be talking to her. And that's going to be really cool. The thing is, I want to introduce you guys to people that I think are really awesome. And so I happen to know some people that I think are really awesome. So I think you guys will enjoy that. And eventually I'm going to have Sebastian Szappa on here, and he's going to blow your mind a little bit. Now, Sebastian is a French microbiologist. And so actually he was able to do an interview with the guy, the French guy who broke the world record recently for the longest ice bath. And I still need to watch that because the thing is, it was all in French, but Sebastian actually took the time to subtitle it in English, which I'm like, okay. And I'm going to have to ask him if he will just translate my book into French, because I need to translate my book. I need to get my book translated. I've had people ask for it in German. I've had people ask for it in French. And so maybe I'll do that. But he's I guess it was like a 2-hour interview, and he subtitled it all himself. He did the translation all himself. So he's a microbiologist too. So it's always been fun. Whenever he became a Wim Hof method instructor, what happened was he was a student of mine for a while, and then he would just said, "No, dude, I'm just going to go ahead and become a Wim Hof method instructor." And I thought that was really cool, and he did. And then we got to work together, and it's such a cool thing to work with a person who is literally a scientist, right? And it's so cool because like he's always sending me these studies, and he's like, "Dude, look at this," because that's his life. That's what he deals with on a regular basis. So yeah, I think you guys will really like Sebastian Szappa, and he actually has a channel. I think it's Respire, something like that. I'm going to find out for you guys. I'm going to recommend a bunch of channels for you guys. Let's see. What is it? Respire Align. Is that what it is? I thought that was what it was. It's Respire Align. You know what? I'm just going to have him on, and then he can tell us. Let's see here. Victardo official. Jesse, what's your opinion of Nofap? So with that one, I think a lot of people put, I think Nofap, and then there's a lot of these restrictive type of practices that people do, and some people have incredible results from them. I think a lot of people expect, okay, if I refrain from this one thing, and anybody that's, if you're a fan of the channel, and thanks for that question, Ricardo, or Victardo, if you've seen the channel, you know that one of the things that is a reoccurring topic on these live sessions, and things that I need to make videos. Rusty is going to help me make a video about this, but like, or you guys remind me to make videos about this, about addiction, like overcoming addiction. And I think, of course, the thing is, guys, I'm 40. Okay. I am 40. And so for me, I didn't have to grow up in a world where like things like porn were just like right in your face all the time, like where it was just constantly available on your phone. Like you could carry around with you, something like that. I didn't grow up in that kind of world. And even like, just think about this. I actually didn't have the internet available to me at my home at all until I was 18 years old. So at 18 years old was whenever I first got dial-up. So a lot of the discussion for me is like, maybe I don't fully understand, and so I don't want to come across as some kind of an expert. But what I do see sometimes people do is people will say, if I do Nofap, or if I do, fill in the blank when it comes to this restriction, I'm going to refrain from doing something. I think sometimes people think that's going to make them into someone who is more confident around people, or more outgoing, or things like that. And I think it can definitely do those things for people because, well, of course, if you have that and that's constantly on your mind, and it's constantly something that's taking up your headspace and what I like to call my bandwidth, right? If it's something that's kind of constantly nagging on me, well, absolutely. Remove things that are not serving you. But don't think of them as things that make you into like it's not that thing that's making you into a more enjoyable person, right? Or it's not that thing that makes you more confident. It's removing something that was getting in your way that lets you actually come through. So for instance, I believe in fasting and definitely fasting in a lot of different ways. Maybe it's a TV fast, or a social media fast, or you fill in the blank. And I think what oftentimes we find is when we remove things that we have compulsions, especially you got to know yourself, right? I think it's just like anything. There's not a one size fits all for all people. But when we remove things from our lives, oftentimes we find out, oh, that one thing was really getting in the way of me being myself, right? And so for me, it was drugs. For me, I was really into opioids, and I was into I smoked weed every day, and I was so into that life. And the thing was, I was still me, but this thing was getting in between me and myself. And whenever I refrained, whenever I quit doing those things and really took control of myself, then I became more of myself. And I was still me. I think that sometimes when it comes to things like maybe Nofap or a lot of these other things, I think sometimes people I think it's healthy to challenge yourself and to be restrictive, but at the same time, don't think there's nothing out there that's like some kind of a silver bullet. The best thing you can do is decide what is serving you and what is not serving you, and then seek out things that serve you and try to avoid things that don't. So I guess that's my opinion on it. I'm not really that familiar with it. And like I said, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I know I'm the last generation I remember much of my life. I remember before the internet, right? Right. And if you think about that, that's huge, because my son is 5 and he will not remember a life before the internet. But I do. I remember life before there was texting, before cell phones. I remember before cell phone, before, and so some of the, and in my book, I talk about the modern human condition. And when it comes to the human condition, of course, it's all of the passions and wants and desires, the experiences that we all humans share. And I think that human condition, there's something now I call the modern human condition. And it is something that can really mess with your head. And so there's a lot of ways that we can really mess with our own heads and cause problems. And it's the same way, like it's basically, we figured out ways to hack our body's natural inclinations that used to be there. These subroutines used to be, they still are. They're there to guide you to good things, right? So your sex drive is there to guide you to finding a mate and reproducing and starting a family. And that's the basis of all civilization, right? That's why we're here. It is, that's a good thing. But we've learned how to really manipulate that into something that is completely different than how it was originally, for the vast majority of human history, how it functioned. The same way with our proclivity for sweets, right? Because back in the day, if you found something with sugar in it, it was attached to nutrition. It wasn't high fructose corn syrup either. It was natural, naturally occurring sugar that was attached to nutrition. And you need some sugars. You need some of those things, especially whenever you're fending for your life and you're trying to survive. Same thing with salt. Are you a sweet or salty person? Well, those are just natural things that at one time, it was so essential for those things. You didn't get them very often. So it was important that you had these mechanisms that says, okay, you need sodium, elemental sodium, or you will die. You need to get nutrition or you're going to die. So a lot of these things, what we've done is really, in the modern age, we have these, there's more than one reason why we want sugar. So for instance, let's see, we have there's a ganglia, or what is it? It's the nodose ganglia here. Not only do we naturally want things that taste sweet up here, we have this another, I forget if it's a ganglia, it's called the nodose, and it's somewhere around here. And it is, if it detects sugar in anything you eat, it makes you want to continue eating it, even if you don't taste the sugar. So there's a lot of these feedback mechanisms that make us want these things. At the end of the day, we shouldn't see these things as bad, these proclivities as bad. And Victardo says, thanks for answering my question. He's like, and you might be saying, hey, enough, stop talking about it. But you got me on a tear, my friend. But the thing is, there's nothing wrong. And like I say, even I say this in my book, there's nothing wrong if you want to sit home and sit on the couch and eat ice cream all day. But there's nothing wrong with you, because you have this natural inclination that is programmed into your operating system. It's just there. The thing is, though, the world we live in has created shortcuts for us to get there, and it allows us oftentimes to form really some bad habits. So yeah, I guess that's the long answer. So that's my answer on that. Let's see, 38 in chat. Where are all the likes for Jesse? Hey, thank you, P. Haggerty. Yeah, if you guys don't mind clicking like, or what is it? You're supposed to smash the like button. That's the old thing. I don't know what the new thing is, but thank you, P. Haggerty. If you guys don't mind, that does help the channel. I really appreciate it. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. You're speaking to my heart with the addiction story, Jesse, Nicholas says. Well, hey, brother, that's one of those things where, and I don't care if it's to drugs or, what it is, we naturally are all going to have things that cause us problems. And we're going to get into, habits, and we're going to, like, I even taught, I don't think it's just drugs, but I tell you what, that was my issue. And thank God, I think about this sometimes. It's been over, and I don't even like saying sober, because that's super boring, and I'm not sober. So if you look up the definition of sober you know what, let's do that. Let's just look up the definition. I guess by one definition, I'm sober, right? Which means, not, I guess, inebriated. Define sober. And I'm not going to let her read it. I'm going to read it. Yeah, shut up. Stop. Okay,
not
stop.
Affected by alcohol.
Yeah, not affected by.
Drunk.
Okay, right. Not drunk. Okay. But the other one, having, let's see, sober, marked by sedate or gravely or earnestly thoughtful character or demeanor, marked by temperance, moderation, or seriousness, subdued, showing no excessive or extreme qualities of fancy emotion. So, basically, if you describe getting some bad news, you could say the bad news was sobering, right? It's like, what I liked is, it's been over 10 years for me since I've had any kind of like an addiction problem. Now, not to say, I shouldn't say that, because, I'll get in habits. I actually recently started eating a lot more pasta than before, and I know that a lot of people don't like it when I conflate these things, but again, all of these things affect our brains, and we can form terrible habits out of these, and it can really mess us up. Caffeine is another one. Everybody's, so many of us are addicted to caffeine, but I like to think of it, I'm free. It's not like yeah, you get a pasta high, Thomas is right. But, I'm free. That's really what I want to be in life. And I think that's what we all want, right? Now, freedom does not mean you don't have any responsibility. And it doesn't mean that you're free from, problems and concerns. but as someone now who is free, and I've been free of addiction since, let's see, I think it's been over 10 years. I mean, it's 11, I don't know, somewhere around there. And I know it's July 5th was my first day of freedom. Maybe I'll tell some stories about that. But I remember the first day where if any of you guys have ever quit a drug before, and I know you've probably seen shows or movies where there's they try to visually represent what it is to be coming off of a drug or to be going through like withdrawals and things like that. But I remember the first day I was completely I was like, today is the day it'll be my first day not to take any of my drug of choice, because I'd weaned myself off. It took a year, but I weaned myself off for a year. Not everybody can do that. That's not everybody's path, but that was my path. And the very first day I had to make a phone call that I didn't want to have to make. And it was basically I was in grad school, and my friend and I we were going to rent off of one of the professors. Now, this professor was going to sit on my graduate thesis project committee. He was the chair of my committee. So I wanted him to like me because he had a major impact on my overall GPA and my thesis project. And he was going to rent us his house. Well, we got this much better deal, and we were both so broke. We were so poor in grad school. Like, the only reason why I was able to really go, and my friend the same way, or my roommate the same way, was because we were doing the graduate assistantship program, which means you teach while you get your degree. So I was teaching college freshmen as I was getting my graduate degree. And I had to call him and say, hey, I know it's last minute, and I know that we promised we would rent your house for this school year, but we got a better deal and we're going to go with that. And I knew he was going to be upset. And I called him, and I told him exactly those words. And he said, so even though you said you were going to rent my house, now you're calling me to tell me he was upset. Now you're calling me to say that you're not going to rent it. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, okay, there's nothing I can do about it. And it was one of those things where we were cordial after that, but it was one of those types of situations that we all want to escape. We don't want to. And so it was a real challenge on my first day of freedom to have that kind of a challenge to do. And it might sound like something completely mundane to some of you guys, but when you are used to depending on a substance to make sure that you're used to depending on a substance to control your anxiety and your stress, then you have to do it all on your own. And it's first day. You haven't really built the skills as much as you're going to. Man, that was I'll never forget that. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's see. Andre says, keep going, really interesting. But yeah, we live in a world that is built around instant gratification, whether it's sugar, social media, et cetera. It's really destructive. Yeah, when it comes to instant gratification, we want it. I know I want it. I want instant gratification. I love it. When you actually experience instant gratification, it is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Like, you get exactly what you want when you want it. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. That is wonderful. But in reality, in my experience, true happiness doesn't come from instant gratification. Thrill can come from instant gratification. a sense, certainly a high feeling can come from instant gratification. But the greatest things that I have, the greatest feelings, the best happiness, the real true happiness for me, at least in my experience, and I'd be willing to say there's a lot of other people that have experienced this as well. It's after really having to struggle, if everything came easy, and I know we say this, okay, we say this, and there's a chapter, there's a book that I have not yet published, that I have not yet finished. I don't know if I will finish it. It is a book that I make an argument about happiness and purpose, and I'm working on it because I'm thinking about it all the time, and I'm working on this book. But okay, I'll give you a little teaser for the book that may never happen. It may never actually come out. But one of the illustrations that I use is whenever I had a Game Genie. You guys remember the Nintendo Game Genie? And the Nintendo Game Genie was this great device. You would put it on your cartridge, you put the Nintendo game in there, and then you were just basically a god in a video game. Or whatever. You could make it was really hard, but the reason why most people got it was because they wanted to make the game easier. And while I love video games, I am terrible at video games, and video games are addictive for all of us, but for me too. So that was one of those things. I still play video games, but I do really have to watch myself when it comes to video games, because there is an instant gratification there too. I mean, let's face it. There's a guy that I was talking to about, and he was defending video games as better than real life. And of course, Carl Jung makes a great point, and I think it's especially important. You see so many people trying to escape reality, and Carl Jung makes the point that for the child, I think he's specifically talking about boys becoming men, but he was talking about how you have to realize and understand that in reality, you can have better things than you would have in fantasy. Like, reality has more to offer you than fantasy does. I don't remember the exact quote, but this guy I was talking to, he was saying, why wouldn't I want to play a video game all the time instead of go for real life? In a video game, I can slay a dragon. I can save a princess. I can do all these things. Why would I want to not be in a video game? And that's true. I get that, and that's, you may see in the background, actually, you can see that there is an Oculus Rift in the background. And this is something that recently entered our home. And I don't know how to feel about it. And I may tell you more about why it's here later, but it is not for the reasons why. It's not because I didn't even buy it. But it's something where we can really get into trouble whenever we run from reality. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy escaping reality on occasions, and that's what a vacation or a holiday is about, is getting, changing things up. And I'm not saying these things are wrong. I'm not really attaching a moral value to any of this. But what I will say is that they become addictive, and if used inappropriately, like anything, it can cause us problems. So when it comes down to it, I think it's that's why it's important for daily examination. Okay. What is getting in my way? What is causing me to have happiness? What is causing me to not have happiness? And in reality, for me, things that took the longest, that I needed to struggle the most at, those are the things that have given me the best kind of happiness. I've been married now for almost 10 years. And let me tell you this, guys, and I'm speaking to guys and gals, anybody's, but it's something where that's a real, that there's work involved there. You're not going to get along every day. You're going to get on each other's nerves, and it causes us to really have to grow as individuals because no two people are going to see eye to eye on everything at all times. And I will say this, I used to look at that as a bad thing. Whenever people they used to say to me before I really had this relationship, I used to say, people would tell me, hey man, you shouldn't look for perfection in a partner because you're never going to find it. And I was like, oh yeah? Well, if I believe I can do anything, right? There's always that. And I also, I think there's a great stigma if you don't find exactly what you want in a partner, you're settling. And both of those things I think are absolutely huge misconceptions, because what I've found in my partner is that we see eye to eye on a lot of things now that we didn't see eye to eye on before. And there's a lot of things that we still don't see eye to eye on. But we've grown, and like, I would never, what I'm doing right now, I owe to my wife. Even though she would never have probably thought, hey, Jesse, why don't you start a YouTube channel and, do that. She never would have imagined it would have led to this. But I remember I was really afraid to step out of my comfort zone to go learn from breathwork teachers, or specifically Wim Hof. I remember I was like, I don't know if I should do this. I was in the first class. It wasn't like this was established yet. And it wasn't like there was so many sources online and on television and all these sources of like, this is who Wim Hof is. This is what it's all about. And so at the time I was like, should I even get involved in this? Or, it's something that I was insanely passionate about. And that's what my wife says. She's like, you're the happiest I've ever seen you. You love this. You talk about it all the time. Go. And so she practically pushed me out the door. And, and so, I think one of the things that I would say is like, when you fall in love, prepare to grow as an individual. Hey, Marcus, hey, thank you, my friend. Hello, guten Tag. What is it? Danke. Thank you so much, Marcus. So, and if you have a question, Marcus, I'd be happy to speak to anything that you have a question about. But anyway, so that's kind of my thoughts there. V. Thomas. Ooh. Let's see here. Wait a minute. Okay, I got to go back up here. Talk us through an initial ice bath, breath work before or after, etc. So yeah, John, I would say when it comes to this, you're going to want to, it's not really, okay. So I could say some things right now, right? If just to talk you through an initial ice bath, I could say, okay, do these steps, but sometimes it's a little bit more complicated than that. And I just want to be straight up with you about that. I really, if you ever come to one of my workshops, if you ever ice bathe with me, if you ever see me ice bathe, my mantra is just get in, just do it, and most of the people that and people, I think a lot of times we overcomplicate things. You know what I do? Whenever I get into the ice bath, I get in and I slow down my breath. And that's essentially what it is. Yes, there are little tricks and tips and things like that, but but it's not a complex thing. And sometimes and the thing is, it depends on who you're talking to. So for instance, I had Joseph Coburl, who he was able to stand in ice for, over 2 hours. And he's got a method that he like of visualization that he does, and he calls it anchoring. But if it's your first ice bath, and of course that's another reason why I wrote the practical guide to cold training, is because a lot of times it's like, okay, am I ready for the ice bath? What do I do when how do I prepare the ice bath? What is an ice bath? So I would say, just the answer that I'll give you right now is just do it. Just get in, and experience it, and make sure you're in a safe place though. But if you want to practice Wim Hof method breath work, of course, you can do breath work right before. But for me, whenever I practice cold training, 9 times out of 10, sometimes I'll do breath work before, but most of the time I just get in. I hop in. I have a playlist. That is what, that's one thing I do. So I have a playlist almost every time I get into an ice bath. That's one thing that is kind of my ritual. And it's always different. Sometimes it's Beastie Boys. Sometimes it's Wandruna. Sometimes it's Folknery. What is A Tribe Called Red? I love those guys. Have you guys heard of A Tribe Called Red? Fantastic. I want to match the mood that I have, whatever I need, because sometimes I get in an ice bath because I need to break through something. And I got to say, even though I regularly cold train and do breath work, I do breath work all day. If I'm not teaching somebody, like this is normally, if you're one of my clients, I'm sitting over here or I'm sitting here, but not only am I doing those things all day and I'm trying to think about those things, but life happens and I get in funks. Sometimes you just get in a funk. And so there's different reasons why I'll ice bathe, and whatever I take, I'll take usually some kind of an intention. If I need to, I'm like, man, I don't know what's bothering me. I don't know why I feel this way. I'm going to get in the ice bath. I'm going to let the ice do what it does. And I take that intention with me. So I oftentimes use an intention. But the most important thing is to be safe and to be in a controlled situation where you can get out at any time. That's the most important thing. So V. Thomas is talking about what broke the camel's back. So I think you're talking about my addiction story. That's one of those things people talk about, going to a rock bottom, and I don't know, and I didn't do like a 12-step program. I didn't go to a rehab. I didn't do a lot of those things. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. That's just the honest truth. And I don't have anything against those things necessarily. But for me, there came a time whenever I was in my late 20s, and I had tried to quit multiple times, but for me, it was the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, and that hit me pretty hard. And I realized, you know what, if there is a good time, this is a good time to change my life. And it was something that I didn't think I could do, but I was like, you know what, I don't know. I said, I'm going to try. And I just held the line, and it was a rough time. It was a rough year. And it was a lot of journaling, actually. Journaling is what really helped me get through. A lot of that is, So V. Thomas also talks, he says, objective reality. Jung only deals with subjective. Well, I don't know about if he only deals with subjective. He's certainly that is, the subconscious in a lot of that for sure. But objective reality, I mean, that's a great question. What is objective reality? Okay, let's see. M. Peter says, I feel the most fulfilled after a day of work outside. It outright beats paperwork. So it's quite sad that outside work is less needed and less well paid. Sure. Yeah. Labor, like manual labor jobs and things like that. Sadly enough, they are disappearing. That is true. Let's see here. And Lambert makes a good point about a dopamine addiction. Yeah. Dopamine, we get in those dopamine feedback loops. Let's see, Rusty Gaming. And Rusty, I didn't mean to make games out to be a terrible thing. Obviously, I still do enjoy games now and then. So surprisingly, video games aren't something I use to run from reality, right? I use them to learn and grow, also create art, and I'm really proud of that. Hell yeah. One of the things I think how we use something, what it means to us, there's so much that goes into experience, and so much of, I'm just going to talk about this for a minute. When it comes to something in the West, I don't even know if it's just the West. It may just be human beings. Okay. I always blame the West for having all these bad ideas. I'm going to just say human beings often want to fall into, is it good for me or is it bad for me? Right? There's this dualistic, there's this diametric thing. It's either good or it's bad. And one of the things I've learned in life, just from experience, is that, man, life is a lot more complicated than that. Life is a lot more complex than, is it good or is it bad? Now, sometimes it's just, well, it's bad, or sometimes, well, it's good. But most of the time, it all depends on the context. It all depends on purpose and meaning, and it depends on intention. And so there's a lot to be said on that, right? And I think that oftentimes we get into this rut of saying, well, this is good for you. Well, there's times whenever this thing could be bad for you, like an ice bath. Oh, but Jesse, ice baths are good for you. Well, they can also be terrible for you. An ice bath can kill you, right? So it's how you use it, and it's the context of which you're using it. If you're doing something in a healthy, let's suppose I see this actually too much these days. Let's suppose you are all about a healthy lifestyle. Well, that's a good thing, right? Maybe it's your way of escaping responsibility for something else, and you're using this goal of healthy lifestyle to avoid some other aspect of your life that needs attending to, right? It's always more complex. That's the thing about the human condition, is that we're very complex as individuals. Oftentimes we want to simplify things down and just really dumb everything down, and in reality, or at least the reality that I believe that I have experienced, is that things get more complicated and they're so much more complex. So whereas for me, something might be completely antithetical to my well-being. It may be something that's, insalubrious. That's a fun word. Something that is damaging to me, damaging to my health and well-being. For another person, it might be a good thing. And that's where that's where getting to know yourself and really questioning, why am I doing this? What is it that I'm getting out of it? And is it serving me? And sometimes it takes a long time to know. Sometimes it takes a long time to say, well, I keep doing this. I feel like it's giving me this result. I need to continue research. So constantly paying attention. Constantly paying attention is not easy. It's harder than it sounds. And because that's difficult. It requires thought. It requires self-examination. And it's so much easier just to say, this is good, this is bad. Vitamin C, you can have a toxic level of vitamin C, but if you don't have any vitamin C, then it's bad, right? So it's not always the case that one thing is good and one thing is bad. It's just, there's a complex there's a complexity to human life. And that's something that, yeah, I could talk about that for a long time, but I want to address, I see Jerome has a cool question. What are your thoughts on setting goals? So setting goals is one of those things that is, I think there's a lot of buzz around setting goals. These are by the way, these are some great questions today, guys. I don't know if it's just like, it was the fact that I played Green Day when we started. No, I'm teasing, but no, these are great questions. I'm having a lot of fun. It's already been almost an hour and a half. I'm having a good time. So thoughts on setting goals. So this is where, again, it comes down to there's complexity in that answer, in that a goal is, I think, a laudable thing to set for yourself. I would like to become healthier. I would like to, and so a lot of people say that you should be more specific about your goals. Well, I would like to be able to bench press 315 pounds. That is my goal. Or I would like to save up this much money, or my goal is to reduce my LDL cholesterol, or my goal is to lose this much body fat, or these are, I think, laudable things to have goals. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it depends on the person again. And so, okay, so let me explain that. I'll kind of dissect that. I'm not the type of person that sets goals and has like a vision board and has like a specific goal. I am the type of person who my goal, I kind of look at life as each day is an adventure, and I want to be open to things. And I feel like the times of my life whenever I had singular goals, because I was so focused on those singular goals, I ignored other opportunities. So I found, for me, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, but just for me, I have found that what I do is my only goal really is to be aware of my surroundings and to make the most out of every opportunity that I get. And I know that sounds pretty cheesy, right? I want to make the most out of every opportunity that I get. I get that. It's kind of cheesy, but for me, like that works. That works for me so much better than having a specific goal. Now, I have fitness goals, I have career goals, I have family goals, there are things that I want to accomplish, but I don't set like really harsh parameters on those unless there is really a reason to do so. For instance, I had a goal of writing a book. Okay. And so in order for me to be able to do that, I had to set myself an end date. I had to say, by this date, I need to be done with writing this book. It needs to be going to publish it at this time. And it needs to, I need to give it to my editor at this time. I need to make sure I have the formatting done at this time. And that was in order to be able to make it, a viable project that could be accomplished at all. And so I was miserable. I hated that. I really hated that one because what it did to me is it made every minute that I wasn't spending on that goal I felt guilty if I wasn't spending. So for me, I find that if I decide to stay open, I'm already pretty industrious or I'm already pretty much motivated to do things. So that's kind of my natural state is I am a dopamine type of person, heavy dopamine. So as soon as I see an opportunity, I naturally want to pursue it and I can't stop thinking about it. So for me, I need to kind of draw back instead of setting specific goals, because if I set a specific goal, I'll just get neurotic about it and I'll just be completely just focused on that so much that it's to the detriment of the rest of my life. So I think that, again, it's complicated. So most of the time, I'll have general goals. I generally want to reduce body fat and increase skeletal muscle. I generally want to become more mobile with my movements and improve my posture. I generally want to increase my respiratory capacity as much as I can. There's a lot of those general goals. For me, those work better. And I know there's a lot of gurus out there that say, nope, that's just not the way it works. But I'm here to tell you that I think that it's all dependent on who you are and you've got to know yourself first. So my first goal would be to get to know myself. And then once I know how I operate, then make goals accordingly. Hey, Sandra, thank you so much for your donation. Hey, Jesse, Norwegian Hofer. Woo! Awesome. Well, that's so cool. So we got some Viking in here. Just wanted to ask about your experience of consciousness. Have you ever had lasting disidentification? Cheers, man. Hey, thanks, Sandra. I've never had lasting disidentification. However, when it comes to deep breath work, so when it comes to what I would consider altered state breath work, and I think this is where you're going with that. And the reason why I'm not 100%. I want to make sure I'm gonna talk about them both, so you don't have to clarify. But sometimes people have side effects, right, from heavy cold exposure or specifically cold exposure. So this is mostly dealing probably with breath work, but sometimes people have this transient global amnesia from cold exposure, and they can have some issues with disidentification. But I think what you're talking about possibly is the separation of the ego, right? So quieting the ego and expanding the mind. And so I actually recently was in a funk. I'll just admit it. Okay. I was in a funk. Things were going well. I didn't really have any reason to feel down, but I was just feeling down, and I couldn't figure it out. And I wasn't sure what I needed to do next with just in general. I was like, what is my next move? I felt like I was starting to lose direction. And so when I get into these funks, there are breathing techniques that I use to get into an altered state. And when I do this, I can experience a state of kind of the prefrontal cortex quiets. Okay, quieting the prefrontal cortex, and then I'm not even going to say it in an overly scientific way, because I don't even know what's really going on. But there's something very special that happens, and it interrupts that funk, and it's kind of like a spiritual. It's hard to really identify. It's hard to describe what happens. People that practice or like plant medicine and things like that, they talk about this as well. But with breath work, that's how I get there. And it's just this beautiful state that where I'm disconnected for just a little bit of time from this nagging ego or this nagging part of me that needs to just shut up. I need to get past that. And it's a way for me to kind of, I don't know, find an answer to what I need to do to this question that I have, or this issue that's bugging me, or this funk that I have fallen into. And it's something I don't do all the time. It's something that I reserve specifically for a purpose, but it is a altered state of consciousness that I don't really know what all is going on, to be honest. I know the basics of what the science says and the explanations, but there's things that I've experienced that it's hard for me to explain. I've been surrounded by what I think are singing angels, or I've been in this disembodied state, and sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes absolutely nothing happens. I get dizzy and that's about it. But there are times whenever I get into an altered state of consciousness, and then I come out of it and I know exactly what I need to do. Or like recently when I was in a funk and I did this, I knew, okay, I need to just lay down, get into it, and chase after it as long as I need to chase after it. And I'm not going to stop until I know what I need to know, or I've broken through this funk. And I came out of it, and I was like, it was just this whole, as if I was waking up from some kind of a weird, it's like the mist was evaporating. Other times, I know I might have mentioned this on a previous broadcast, where I'll look out at nature and just realize that, wow, we're all connected, and it's this amazing sense of universality. And I don't want to simply relegate that to the scientific explanation, even though I know that there are scientific explanations to it. It's something, it's very special. So that's been my experience. It's been something that I've used as a tool. And I think that is, for me, at least, that's the appropriate use. I do teach a version of this. For instance, the Wim Hof style of this. If you go to like an advanced Wim Hof method workshop, I will take you through it, and I will teach you the technique. And it's only something I'm comfortable doing generally at that point. And it's one of those things where I think it's important to respect things, because when I was younger, I would drop acid, or I would take mushrooms or something like that. And even though I thought I was going on a vision quest, I was mostly just doing it to have fun. And as an adult, whenever I experience these experiences, I'm doing them for specific reasons. I always have an intention. I always have something I'm seeking out. So, Sandra, I appreciate that question. Hello to my Viking friend, Skull. All right, let's see here. Yeah, Rusty, we'll have to talk about that. All right, let's see here. Lambert asked me, time is an illusion, Jesse. So do you want to know if I think time is an illusion? I don't think time is an illusion. I think it's actually a real thing. But then again, who the hell am I? I'm just, the reason I don't think time is an illusion is because I experience it. And then again, I experience illusions as well. But I don't think that time is necessarily an illusion. I do think it is something that, of course, every night when I dream, I experience time dilution and dilation. And there's these, it's how we experience it, I think, that changes. But at this point, I don't know enough about the topic to really get too deep into it. But I think that, I think that time is well, yeah, it's something I've experienced. So that's just my opinion. It's just, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, guys. I really do appreciate you guys being here. This has been a really fun session. And thanks for all the congrats. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Moose Man's, I'm going to read yours. Check out Japanese philosophy called Kaizen, which develops in detail how to do things successfully in small increments. That's pretty cool. That sounds awesome. We want a music closeout. All right. Let's see. Alan checked in. Alan, are you still here? Let's see here. Guys, thanks so much. I'm going to play you out. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Friday. Let's see here. Down by the river. See if you know this one. This is going to check it. This is going to test your 90s rock palette. Here we go. Two jumps in a week, I betcha. Think that's pretty clever, don't you, boy? Almost busted. Flying on your motorcycle, you're watching all the ground beneath you drown. Nicholas got it. Kill yourself for recognition. Kill yourself to never, ever stop. Broken up the mirror, trying to figure out what you are not. Sing along if you know it. Don't leave me cry. Don't leave me dry. Dry. Thanks, guys. Thank you. There it is. The conversation, you'll be the one who cannot talk. Oh yeah, we got a jam, Rusty. Let's see. Oh, I lost my concentration. What is it? So you will be the one who cannot talk. What's the next words? Oh, curses. Well, let's go to the chorus. Here we go. Don't leave me. Dry. All your insides, that's what it was. All your insides fall to pieces. You'll be the one who can't. Oh, well, okay. My memory is blown. Guys, thanks so much for being here. You guys have made this really an awesome Friday afternoon for me. So thanks for being here. Next week, I may do it on Thursday afternoon. I've got a project I'm working on that I think you're going to like, that I got to do some filming for on next week on Friday, but I may get it in. I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, the 19th, I'm going to have Estrella. Hey, guys, have a great weekend. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.